I think builds on, again, some themes that Pete talked about, which is how do we deliver the value of big data and advanced analytics and visualizations, to the masses, and how do we make what maybe historically is kind of rocket science available to normal everyday business users, and turn that insight, turn that intelligence into something that's useful kind of in everyday apps and everyday situations. And so our third demo really is around this theme of advanced analytics-driven visualizations.
Great, thanks, Alan. If we can go back to, maybe I'm supposed to push this button, perhaps. Number 3.
There we go.
All right.
And this is featuring a combination of two of the core products within the iHub platform. The iHub on the visualization side and BIRT Analytics, which is basically an analytic engine that applies both a fast database, a custom data store with some built-in algorithms and with some visualization technology. So really is a great approach for kind of delivering this value of big data to kind of everyday non-data scientists. And we're going to see that in action here working with the iHub.
Great. Thanks very much, Alan. So what we wanted to do is make sure we all, we exposed everyone to this incredible tool. But we also want to emphasize the new developments with the latest release, in that we're bringing these tools together into a common ecosystem. And so we see this having a lot of benefit to how you actually build your applications, because now you can inform how you do this through analytics. So BIRT Analytics is not a tool intended for the statistician. A lot of people assume, I don't know that stuff, that's for our bit twiddlers and our data scientists. Well, actually, this is intended to bridge the gap between the layperson and the data scientist. This is a tool, as Alan mentioned, that allows for real-time analysis and exploration against dizzying amounts of data. So we're actually looking here through the eyes of an analyst or business user at BIRT Analytics. It has a very simple drag and drop interface, all centered around the data itself. So we see a little bit of a browser view of the various data elements that I have at my disposal. We've got some data from my financial services organization that's made up of customers and transactions. We also have some website statistics. So it's intended also that there's on-the-fly blending of information. One of the things that Alan also mentioned, and that we can't emphasize enough, is the speed with which this tool can process amazing amounts of data. So when you want to do things like explore, all you do is drag from the data browser, drop it onto the tab relative to what you want to accomplish. So I just took that whole database, dropped it onto our Explore tab. And that's to make a point. We're not looking at something visual, we're making a bigger point. I just was able to process over 52 million rows of data, almost 1 billion individual cells of values. And we're just getting started. This is just our demo data set. So we like to emphasize we're leaving the other visual tools behind when we start talking about processing tons and tons of data like this. So the way in which you take advantage of the tool is, again, all around the data. You just drag and drop out of the data browser. Here's our customer table. If we want to see a depiction of the age distribution of all of our customers, again, keeping in mind, millions and millions of customers, I was able
not billions and billions?
Billions and billions, instantly depicted here and calculated. And you can start to see how here, very easy to spot, 43-year-olds are the most prevalent age group in my customer base. So it starts to become obvious why this tool is really conducive to marketing analytics and trying to identify target demographics. So this also becomes really important when you're building a customer-facing application, hopefully utilizing the rest of the BIRT suite. So let's actually go through a couple of scenarios just to show you the power of the tool, and that it's not for the statistician, it's for the rest of us. And then we'll see how we can actually translate these findings or results into more operational views. So we'll take advantage of some of the more advanced analytics here. What I'll do first is let's depict a breakdown of how my customers are distributed across my various accounts. So I'm going to go into account type. This is a field within my database. And notice that I have various kinds of accounts. These make up my business areas. So I have checking accounts, these make up my banking. I have loan accounts and investments. Let's say we want to actually increase our investment account signups. So a good way to first depict how our customers are actually deployed across these accounts is to build what we call a Venn diagram. It's a simple diagram. Everybody learns about these when they're in grade school, but it's a very powerful representation of the overlap of different types of metrics. So first I'll say I want to create a category that represents my banking business as circle number 1. Next, I want to represent my loan business as circle number 2. Notice I'm also grabbing multiple values, and they're automatically being categorized into sort of a parent for me. And then lastly, we'll pull out our investment accounts. So we want to see a comparison of how our customers are deployed across these various accounts. So in order to set that context, just the same as we've been doing throughout, you just simply drag out of the data browser. We want to see this relative to customers. Just drag, drop. And again, it happens so fast, people don't realize what's really going on behind the scenes.
How many customers?
How many customers? There are millions of customers.
And how many accounts?
Millions and millions. Some customers have 10 or a dozen.
You just joined a couple million records to a couple million records.
That's right.
And categorized them all, and I think I blinked and I missed it.
That's right. And that's why I like to point this out. I mean, we issued 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different highly filtered queries all on the fly, and got back this depiction of the how these customers.
So this is when I asked that question. So technically, this is happening because sounds like this fast database thingy, right?
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked. So underneath the covers, we have a highly performant columnar database. And it's this database that enables this amazing speed with which we're able to apply these queries and these analyses. So we've built out now this depiction of how our customers are sort of distributed across our various accounts. And I noticed something right off the bat. This little intersection, 200,000 customers are doing business with us in banking and in loans, but not investments. So this is how we start to say that you can really find target demographics this way. There's a perfect pool of prospects. They've already demonstrated brand loyalty, but they haven't got all of our products. So let's target these individuals. So another key is that anytime you click on any area of any visual within this environment, it then becomes a reusable drag and drop filter. So I'm going to call this clients without investment accounts. And right off the bat, we now have this particular segment. So I can go off and, we've been able to create this list. We can start marketing to these folks immediately. But there's no fun in that. Let's actually analyze who these individuals are, find out what kind of people they are, and how to best market to them. Because this is where the power of the tool really begins to become evident.
Well, I also like to think of this back to Pete's comment. You took data, you turned it into information, now you're turning it into intelligence. So there's this sort of funnel at play here. And you could see why marketers love this, right? I mean, I'm somebody who started in data science and then became a marketer. And this sort of tool is awesome because I can play around, I can explore. And notice I'm not calling my IT guys to help me do this.
That's another key, is that we've tried to make sure that you don't have to call IT, that you're able to work with all of your data and come to these kind of summaries and epiphanies all on your own. So let's take a look at a couple of more analytic algorithms, and then I'll show you how we can operationalize this information. So the next thing I might want to do is let's learn about this segment of individuals. What kind of person, what kind of people they happen to be. And for this, we're going to employ the profile. So profile is another big differentiator. It's a way in which you can learn kind of influential attributes about individuals within a segment. So now I've just set context for that segment of individuals. I'm going to start dragging in different attributes. So first we'll pull on, for example, age band. And what happens is an algorithm behind the scenes, underneath the covers, called the ZScore, is being calculated. So it's looking at, again, millions of customers relative through this particular segment, and it's giving us a statistical measurement of a score's relationship to the average in a group of scores. Or it's really going to depict for us these highly influential traits of these individuals. So on our age band, under 30s are the most prevalent, as depicted here by a bar pointing off to the right. So this means that we've got a really good Z-score, but the tool doesn't expect us to know what a Z-score is. It also uses iconography. So this star means a statistically relevant finding. So let's actually add to this. I'm going to pull a couple more things out. We'll pull on our marital status, our occupation. Notice how as I'm dropping these out, Highly influential traits are going to the top, lesser ones going straight to the bottom. I'll pull out our income band, and we'll go with preferred channel. And then lastly, I'll drop on folks that have one of our credit cards. And you can sort of keep going. Any ones that you want to see are these influential traits. And what yields is, again, we can see that very clearly, according to this kind of visual metaphor, that our target segment tend to have our credit cards, they're under 30, like to be contacted via email, and are married professionals making up to 50K, and so on. We also see, even more importantly, a statistician had to tell me how important this was. We see who to ignore as well. Okay, so it's really doing a comparison and telling you, you don't have to worry about the separated retireds who are up to 60. Well, our target demographic are clearly rooted in the younger folks. So the profile being a way to learn about these individuals. So the last algorithm I'll bring to bear is a forecast. This one is predictive, obviously, as the name would imply. It will show you how easily you can bring these powerful algorithms to bear. So what we'll do is also join multiple disparate data sources as well. Let's say we're going to use our website to launch our campaign after these individuals. Let's make sure that we're launching our new banners and ads for them on the days they happen to be online the most, based on their historic traffic on our website. So how do we find that? Well, we're going to utilize this forecast. So what I'm going to do is in my website statistics database, I'm going to count the visits based on the input date, which is the day those folks logged in. So very easy. Now we set the context. I want it only relative to these individuals, right? Those clients that don't have an investment account yet. And I'm going to project out 30 days into the future. And what we're doing is setting parameters for an underlying algorithm called Holt-Winters. But again, this just simple checkbox, drag and drop means I don't even have to know how to spell Holt-Winters to take advantage of it.
How do you spell Holt-Winters?
Just like that.
I don't know. So let's go ahead and now see what the calculation yields. So we can do a pre-analysis. A pre-analysis, I always like to point out, is really good also as sort of a vetting mechanism. Because us non-statisticians, I don't know if I've chosen ideal parameters to make an accurate prediction. So when we do the pre-analysis, we once again get these visual indicators of the validity, kind of the quality of our chosen parameters. And thanks to a little bit of practice, I've chosen ideal parameters to make an accurate prediction. So let's go ahead and calculate that. So then, just that easy, against one of these things where you have to remember we're processing against millions and millions of records, millions of customers, millions of transactions, and all of their daily visits. And what we then yield the original visits, but more importantly, the projected series. So this is what the algorithm says is going to be the traffic based on those individuals' historic visits.
So I can schedule my campaigns right at those peaks and avoid the valleys.
Exactly. You might want to roll out a new banner here, not so much here, that kind of thing. Okay?
Cool.
So now a common question here is, great, a lot of analysts ask us, that's great, you've made this finding. Now how do we make this available back to our operational users? So this is where it's kind of a unique aspect of our latest offering is that we're tying together via the data these aspects of findings as well as this voluminous amount of information. So for example, let's say I'll go ahead and save our forecast. We can just save it into a folder, and then we can actually then sort of, if you will, start to push this information over into an operational dashboard. So as I sort of finish off on BIRT Analytics, BIRT Analytics, I've tried to make the point, is a way in which you can work with a highly visual but malleable environment. And now we've come to, let's say, some conclusions, and we want to make this information available to our operational users. Give them just as much flexibility, but they don't need near as much as the analyst. So as we jump over into a more operational view, here we can see a classic BIRT-based dashboard. So what we've been able to do is create an ODA, an Open Data Access Connector for the entire, it can be utilized and leveraged by the entire BIRT ecosystem to unite all of that data that's in our analytics system, but bring it into a more operational view. As we see here, it's much easier for an operational user to work with simple point-and-click selectors and see the entire dashboard sort of change in accordance with their selections. Okay, so just as informative, but intended for a less sophisticated operational type of user. So how is it that the data is actually sort of pushed through into this operational view? It's through that ODA layer. So let's actually take a little look at what that looks like. It's very easy to create a visualization in this environment. This is a classic BIRT-based dashboard. So what I'll do is, let's build a new visual element based on our BIRT Analytics data. So I'm going to build a bubble chart. So next, there's our data model. It's going directly against that same live data that's in BIRT Analytics. So we'll choose that, and I'll set my X to customer age. There we have it. So you recognize some of the field names probably. We'll go with the Y value of actual profit. And let me just, there we are. And we'll sum that up, and we'll also count the customers by their unique record number. So that would be customer earn, and we make this a count. And next we'll group this by occupation. So you're starting to see evidence of all of the data that we've been working with, but this in a much more operational view. So I'll set this as occupation. And we'll go ahead now and just set some very basic stuff. I'll just go ahead and we'll render it out. So it comes, again, reading that data in real time. There's our depiction of information. But we also have the ability to, again, make it very simple for operational users to leverage contextual selectors. And they don't have to do any wiring up of the plumbing. This is all now automatic and out of the box. So the last thing I like to kind of point out is it's not just, we're not just using the same data, we can also use the same saved findings. For example, you remember I created and saved a forecasted website traffic in BIRT Analytics. This is that same saved metric, in fact, on our website here in an operational view. So kind of the last point I like to make is draw the line between BIRT Analytics data and our dashboard environment. So what I'll do is add to this. I'll show you how users can actually create, add to their visualizations by simply going to a gallery. So I'll drop on an additional visual element here, average website visit, and then I'll also pull in a selector for that context sensitivity. Okay, so now we're looking at a depiction of how long my individual customers by male and female spend on my website on average. Okay, so this field is in fact an enriched field. So we're looking at the x-axis and it's saying 1 to 3 minutes, 3 to 10 minutes, greater than 10, less than 1. Let's say that now as an analyst, I want to change that definition. And I don't want to have to bother my operational users with any of that. I just want to change it. So we can luckily do so through the BIRT Analytics application itself. So let's go straight to, in fact, that field that we were looking at. Average visit length groups. So another key to this tool is the ability for the analyst or the user to extend data by enriching it. So I actually created this definition of grouping up our individual visitors into groups. So here we see less than 1, 1 to 3. Now I want to change that definition. So let's say I want to make it 1 to 5 minutes.
So the marketing analyst is sort of, I think I want to change this a little bit. This will be a better way to look at my customers. And that's happening.
Because marketing analysts never want to change anything.
Never.
Never.
Ever.
So
Just
now
like
we'll make this 5 to 10, and we'll make that 300. And just for giggles, I'll make this between 0 and 1. 0 to 1 minute. Okay, so I've made pretty substantial changes to this field. So I'll click Modify. Now let's go back into our dashboard, and I'll refresh this. And remember that our operational user has absolutely no idea that any of this has happened. They don't have to. It's transparent. I just inherently receive these updates as part of my operational experience in a BIRT-based
So
dashboard.
this could be like the product manager or the agency head that's just working at this level. They get the dashboard view. They can play around with it. They get the results of all that work, but they just get the latest as soon as it's available.
The latest as soon as it's available, exactly. And that's, we feel that this is a way where you can utilize BIRT Analytics to inform what you offer your operational users and ultimately what you offer your customers through the BIRT-based customer-facing application. So we kind of complete this circle of continuous improvement. The more you learn about your customers, the more you can refine the offerings you provide to them through BIRT, and the cycle continues. So hopefully that made a good point.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark?